So, Joe, I know that you work with coaches and consultants and other service based entrepreneurs. So, help us understand exactly what their challenges are right now, mostly.
Well, honestly, out there, what I see is I see people making a lot of the same mistakes I made when I first started out as an entrepreneur. So, a lot of what I do is to try to help them not make those same mistakes, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's, I do believe there's mistakes we all need to do because I do think that's part of the learning process. Hi, that's my activator. Like, I want to learn in the process. But there's also stuff that you can really do early on to make sure that you get it right before it goes wrong. And I
Mm.
think the biggest challenge is there's so many formulas out there, so many people telling you how you should build your business, how you should market, what you need to do. It has to be video or content or emails and funnels, and everybody's coming at you from all these different directions, and it's overwhelming, right? So I think a lot of people really get caught up in overwhelm.
Hmm.
They don't know where to start, so they don't start, or they start with the wrong thing first. And the thing I think everybody needs to start with is they need to know who they are and why they're doing what they're doing. And when you really get that clear, the rest will fall into place. And it is,
So, I
I
was
was
just
going to
going to
say,
ask you, how do you help the people you work with do that kind of thing?
right. Well, it's much more than just identifying your niche or your avatar. It's a lot
Mm.
more than, I work with 30 to 40-year-old women who work at home. That's your niche will actually organically create itself when you
Hmm.
get your messaging down. So that's why I really, really focus on messaging. And I say that the niche is in your message less than the niche is a person, right? Because the rest of it just builds. And so I've created a system to help people walk through this and start laying the bricks to build their foundation for their business in just the right way. So when they're ready to start making those videos and write that content and do those challenges and create those email funnels, all of those pieces are already in place and they can pull from that to create
Hmm.
much easier. Because I know when I first started out, I took a marketing course with someone who is very trusted and I think does a very good job with what they do, but I was actually unable to apply any of his methodology because I still didn't know who I was talking to. And I
Mm.
couldn't just, shoot in the dark. So it really didn't have the impact it should have had with me because I didn't have those first pieces in place. So again, me for me, right? I want to help people not make those same mistakes. So if you're going to make that kind of investment, make sure you have the stuff you need beforehand to make it worth. And so the system that I've created is actually, I call it the fours because of the way that I work with things, but there's actually, uh, in this process, there's a few levels, there's steps, and everybody works at a different pace. That's one of the things I've learned.
Mhm.
Everybody works at a different pace, but everybody needs the same elements, right? So we always start with your strengths, right? I am at my best when I understand your strengths. If you're someone who's new to strengths, then that's the first place we start. We start to really get to know those strengths and what they look like. If you
Mhm.
already know your strengths and feel comfortable with them, we start with building your language. And what that means is we marry your talents with your values, what you do best, and with your motivations in order to create a fabric of who you are. It's like creating a little dictionary of you, if you
Mhm.
will. Okay. And it gives us all of those phrases to start pulling from and playing with. And then from there, we build your story. And building your story is about writing your bio. And if anybody is doing their bio correctly, the bio has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the person you want to talk to.
Mhm.
But it's still your story. It's your story told in a way that someone else is reading it and goes, oh my gosh, this person gets me. They know what I need. They've been there. They get it. Right? So we really help you craft a great biography that then you can pick apart and use for multiple areas. From building your story, then we build your brand. And this is one of the simpler parts, but it can take a little bit of time. But this is where we really get the image right. Your fonts, your colors, your marketing materials, a website if you need it. Most people don't need a website to start off.
Right, I
I
agree.
actually recommend you don't need a website necessarily, but
Mhm.
you do want to have a look. So as you're putting things out there, people start to identify that look with you and that it's a good representative of who you are,
Sure.
right? I've had people go to my website and they're like, oh, Joe, it's so like, it's awesome. I love the graphics, but I'm a little intimidated by it. It's a kind of loud thing. And I thought, well, that's okay. Thank you for telling me, but that also says maybe you're not my perfect client,
Sure.
because that's kind of who I am. Right. And so
Yeah.
there's still ways that it could be done wrong. And maybe I can, obviously we all have to make some changes and evolve, but that's one way that, those colors and photos and things you use are really important, because it does represent you, in a visual way. Then from there, we build your program. And building your program means building sort of that signature program or process. Like, what will people know you for? What is that one thing someone will know you for? Because if people don't know what you do, they're neither going to hire you nor are they going to refer you, because they will have no idea what it is you do. Now,
Yes.
you can evolve, you can create new programs, but you need a good, solid way for people to start. Right. And so that message has to be clear. Where do I start with you, and why should I be working with you? So we help with not only creating that one signature piece, but also who you're going to market it to, how you're going to market it, the cost. Is it going to be groups, one-on-one, working for corporations, organizations? We really start identifying very clearly who you're going to be talking to through that piece. And then the last thing we do is the building your platform. And building your platform, I love to call having a TED Talk in your pocket. And this is where we create that cornerstone content. So we write one solid article together that can eventually become a TED Talk, that could become something you use at networking meetings where you have 15-minute presentation ready to stand up and go to start picking up new clients. You can break it apart for different articles, for LinkedIn, for Medium, wherever you want to publish. You can use it for video content, for challenges, but it becomes, people mistake that when they say you need all kinds of content, that you have to constantly be creating.
No.
In fact, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is 20% content creation, 80% marketing. So when you create this one solid piece of material, it also becomes your sales pitch in a way, because it so helps you define your why. And when you can speak passionately about why you do what you do, people will just want to work with you. There's no selling involved.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So it takes a lot of the fear factor out of selling too, that a lot of independent workers have. They're scared to get out there and sell.
Right.
So you've got to find that
because
way
of
to
that.
do it.
The messaging just isn't defined. So yeah, I love that you do that, and that you work with these coaches and consultants and people who offer a service. So if that's you want to definitely reach out to Jo Self, and you can find her at joself.consulting. Be sure to pop over and say hey. And thanks so much for joining us. I'm Rhonda Boyle, and I'm with Coach Talk TV. And for this and more coach interviews, join us at www.coachtalktv. You'll find us on YouTube too, and also on all podcasting platforms. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.